Yak yuxatini kat yuhan, gulchish hati adi, yakhana. Dach Shkalneek tate ye chikachtune. Yewe achtuasagu katua aku. Katuniki. Tlingit Tlingit chinach adach gatlet chinach kagachtushahid. Itcha gatlet chinach Tlingit chinach kagachtushahid. Yewe aka we ye atgukwane atsu. Atyanashikach kitli. We ye atgukwane atwe achtuasagu daat. Wuchin yuk ʼadul.átgi. Yek echawe gulchish ye awe achtuasagu kagach'u'ach ya yidat. Ye Tlingit Shkalneek ye awe ye gachisitin adu Shkalneek isa. Isli Johan. We Kate our shy aya. Let's try it. Then we'll go one sentence at a time, whoever wants to read it, and then we'll give you a chance to translate it. And if you need any help, it's no problem at all. Just say, and we'll do our best. Who wants to go first?
Koha.
Ah.
Ch'áagu ha'in kadusnik. You kicks at daat. Long time ago, people told us people told a story, Kiksadi child about.
Yeah, well, it's cheese. ETA. What's the next one?
Cool.
Mm.
We ʼawtuli.át. He was snaring or trapping seagulls. Gulls.
Yeah,
snaring, I guess.
Yeah, well. So ʼawtuli.át would be like to trap something with like especially an animal. But I think that's also used for fish traps. And then dust is more like a little snare for like little ones, little rodents, birds. That's how you can catch them. Okay, ETA.
The boy was called ʼawtuli.át.
Yeah, well, sheesh. Next one.
Should nicht good away. Eat Jan Uaha. He went home. He was going home. He was hungry.
Yeah, well, a shoot is like kind of after it, a little while later. So yeah, afterwards he went home and he was hungry. Okay. Next one.
Kli ḥatyanuaha. Mama want some salmon.
Hungry for fish or something?
We would. Yeah, that's interesting, right? And so with yan there, we should be able to figure out that chat is actually a contraction of eat. So you could say eat yan uwaha, and that's I'm hungry. Chat yan uwaha, I'm hungry. Eat chat uwaha, I'm hungry for fish. So theoretically, you should be able to also say chat uwaha, and that would also be I'm hungry for fish. But this chat, even though it's identical to the salmon, is actually to me. So you could say khan or achin. But yeah, I'm hungry. Mama, I'm hungry. Next one.
ʻatgi. Oh, oops.
Cook.
Go. Oop. I'll go.
Okay.
ʻatgi. Give me some dry fish.
Yeah, we're gonna put the okay. Cheese. Next one.
Jeet awati Shanyaak'utlaax. She gave him I don't remember what that word shanya means, but it's like a moldy piece of fish.
Yeah, so the wooded kach is the moldy part, so that's for something to be moldy. Shanya is the end of something, the edge of it. So this would be like, especially if you were hanging stuff for its a car wash and you get a top that looks like a little pair of pants. That would be it. Okay. And then ush, because that's who the main story is about, right? So learning how to use ush, this is when we want to make sure that it's clear who's doing the thing. Once we heard the name of this, and a lot of us know the story, right? But once we've named sort of the main character, it's sometimes main character, but it's just who we're talking about. Then once we hear ush, that's usually that guy we've been talking about. And that's the way, and once we hear ush, then we know the other third person is the mama. Oops. I didn't even get these all. Hold on. Okay, now we're ready. Okay. Who wants to do this one? Keep it going.
He threw it.
Yep. He threw it on it, like technically, but yeah. Okay.
Yay, ʻawtuli.át Shanyaak'utlaax Shkalneek. No idea.
What's that?
No idea.
Okay. How about let's start with ye ʼawtuli.át. Anybody?
He
They
said.
said,
Said.
Yep. So he said to her. So the S classifier means now that we must add an object. So ye ʼawtuli would be they said. Ye ʼawtuli, they said to them, right? And so let's talk about this for a second. So when you say ye ʼawtuli, you're saying they said these exact words. That's when you're using the ʼawtuli verb, is when you're quoting somebody, as opposed to a ʼkawanik. A ʼkawanik would just be like they gave them this information, right? They told them about the ʼquig. They said this. Their ʼquig was good. So that's one thing, is like the ʼawtuli, the ʼka verb is putting it into the quotation mark zone. The other thing is the S, once it switches classifiers, that's because it's being said to somebody. So that one's a little bit different. Like, so when you say a ʼkawanik, to say who it was said to, you'd say du'in a ʼkawanik, ach'in a ʼkawanik, i'in a ʼkawanik. But this one's going to do that with the object. When you use the ʼkawanik verb, the object is what's being talked about. So I could say chatkiyanik, but now I'm really kind of saying like, you told about me. And then that's usually kind of a bad thing, like in the Raven stories, like especially if you put K in front of it, like the upwards thing. ʻKeḥatki you tattled on me. Now I'm going to have to get mad, right? But so the other thing is going back to the ush, we know that this is Shanyaak'utlaax who's saying this, or ʼawtuli.át. His name is ʼawtuli.át right now. Because if she was saying it, it would say ye ush yausakha. So learning how to use this verb, it's just a little bit of fine tuning, right? Because then you might say ye chat yausakha. They said this to me, and then you're going to use the exact words. Or I could say ye yausakha. That's why if you stand up and you say, I do hear people say quite a bit, ach tuwasagugunalchish, and it's like, you want to be thankful? But what they're trying to say, and I don't correct people in public, but they'll say, ach tuwasagu ye yi yauchsakayi gunalchish. I would like to say to you all, thank you. So, just learning how to use this one is important, right? Because then I said this to them, and they said this to me. Like if we're gonna, I'm gonna tell you about the Tlingit soap opera I saw last night, and then this is gonna be important because the exact words become important. So, in the context of the story, the reason why is because this is probably going to come up later, right? Shanyaak'utlaax Shkalneek. And how about the translation for that one?
You always give me that moldy piece, that
Yeah.
moldy cloth.
Yeah. So cha, just or only or very. Shanyaak'utlaax. So when you add those together, you're saying just the moldy end. Shanyaak'utlaax ʼagh So it's really interesting because there's kind of three things that put this into a very repetitive mode. So we know, we look up here and we see ʼajit, and then ashjit awati. Oops. These are the same verb. So ʻajit gunchish gao ʻajit yiti. Thanks for giving me the time. Right? So when we can start moving these around. But then this is the same verb for feeding, right? But you would, let's say, feed the dog, right? That's the command form for feed the dog. Did you feed the dog? And so here we have ach for my, mouth. This suffix is repeatedly coming to or moving around at. Itir. So there's a repetitive suffix on there, and then nooch, right? So it's got both of them. So it's saying, you just always give me the moldy end. So two cultural violations here in a row. Throwing food, bad. Especially when someone gives you food, just to throw it. Like that's, you should just get thrown down the beach for that alone. But then saying like, you just give me the moldy parts. So when someone also gives you food, to then say something bad about that food is pretty rough stuff. Okay, next one.
aadé yauskai yichawe yuhat ḳáax'u ḳáax'u.
Okay.
They went to yauskai yichawe. The salmon people's village, right?
Well, so like if we look at this, and first we're going to take this CH, we're just going to ignore this CH for a second. I'll just, I'll make it go away first. I'll bring it back. Aadé ʼawtuli.át. So there's a couple things, right? So here's this ʼawtuli, and then when we have, if you said like ʼawtuli, just with the yeah alone after it, that would be the place where they said it to them. It doesn't really make sense, but there's a whole bunch of verbs where you could use yeah. And some of them are place names, right? So you could say anakhwugudiyah, the place where maybe it's Raven. Yesh anakhwugudiyah, the place where Raven walked along, right? Like that would make sense as a place name. It could also work for just like the place we're going to do something. So I would say, ha, yiskuke, we kek, kutuk itiya, that place we were picking berries, right? So it works for that, for like some place where we were doing something. That's how the yeah works on its own. It's like usually a place where something happens. But when you add aadé in front of the verb and then have yeah, now you're talking about the way that verb happened, right? So then, oh, sorry, I'm catching up with the chat. I'll have to catch up with the chat in a second. So aadé ʼawtuli, the way that he said that thing, right? And so there's some things I'd want to look at, like why there's a S classifier, but there's no object, right? But then to bring this little CH back, you can put a suffix onto this yeah, which gets a little bit, it's pretty wild, right? So you could say things like going back to, you could say, they went away from that place where we were picking berries. So you can go to and from this yay. You can have yate, you can have yech, you can have yach. So what the CH is doing here, there's kind of a lot of complicated stuff going on in this one sentence. Why the CH is there is it's the way that he said it. That's the thing that actually did it. The way that he said that is what did this next verb. Okay, so now we got yuchat, and this one is the fish, or ḳáax'u. So these are the fish people. What about Shanyaak'utlaax?
He said something to
Offended them, yeah.
Yeah, yep. So this
Is that same as tlifas? Same piece?
it's different. It's actually one like I think it's the verb root, and it means like to fall and scatter, but it could also mean to be dizzy, and it could also mean to like pass out. But then when you put aya in front of it, like kind of like along their mouth, basically, when you add these things together, this is a special verb in Tlingit, and it's specifically saying something to offend that offends something else, usually at a spiritual level. So this is in the title of that story that we often call like the bear mother or the woman who married a bear. It's called Shanyaak'utlaax. Like that's the real name of the story, or I don't know, that's how they write it down anyways, is the woman who offended the bears.
Nay, why is Yawuska instead of Yausika? I guess is what, like it's almost like a negative or something.
It looks like a negative, and so that's one I would probably maybe take back to the folks and just check on it, because I would expect right here to say aadé ʼawtuli. That, that's what I would expect, but there could be things going on there that I'm not sure about. because the other thing, like, so the object kind of goes away here. And then, yeah, yawusqa, it sounds like the negative form to me. But it could also be another thing that could be happening here is this would also be the form you would use in a subordinate clause. So I might say gunsh, or it might say yuk'e adeya wasqa, or I might say yuk'e aya wasqa, because what's going to happen is to have it, it's like it's this because of that. So like yuk'e ikhsatini. So that pushes it to a classifier, which sometimes will contract. But yeah, that's something I was a little it just makes me look at it.
So Kune, the CH on H makes that whole little clause, adeya wasqayh, ergative, right? The whole clause
Yes.
becomes the causative.
So like, and there's other things you could say here, like adewukuti yechewe yechwaji kawashu owehu. It was the way he was walking that made me think he was intoxicated. Yeah. So yeah, that's what the CH is doing. And so it's pretty cool. That's some really cool stuff going on in there.
Can you hear me?
Ah.
Something that comes to mind when I hear Yoska is Southern Tlingit.
Oh, okay. Sheesh.
That's what I used to hear when I was young.
Yeah, because Southern Tlingit, it contracts a little bit differently, and so they're more likely to drop some of the vowels as well. So I remember Zeosh was explaining it to me one time, and he speaks Southern Tlingit, so I was like, you just walk around throwing vowels around. I was like, stop it now. So I was just teasing him. But yeah, good sheesh. Okay. Let's see. Let's do a couple more.
Northerners would say Yausi Ka.
Aadé ayos. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Southerners would just drop that.
Okay. There's cheese. Okay. Who wants to do the next one?
Play. Took away. ʼawtuli.át. Das ai. A walked a good cage ready. Oh boy. Just then in it arrived ʼawtuli.át. Don't know. Das ai. His trap. It's I. Seagull came.
Okay. Good cheese. Anybody remember what we had atuk as? I gotta go find it somewhere. If you got anything to add to this, go ahead. Oh, I gotta find this other thing. Is it here?
Somebody said there's a seagull
Yelling?
in the mouth of your trap. Oh, sorry.
Is it somebody yelling? Is that?
Yeah, okay, we're gonna take a look at that. So atuk, I would probably write this as this isn't something you hear a whole lot, but it's sort of like furthermore, I guess, like if you're kind of you're just sort of letting someone know you're adding to the thing. It's used a lot in stories. Like Sedeya was the one that I would notice her using it, and that when I'd read her stuff. So just then, furthermore, like, so there's more to the story. It's just adding. We're gonna add some more to it. So here we have ʼawtuli.át, which we should recognize, right? So this is like if we just said ʼawtuli.át, but this this is not very common, but you do see it in the older stories. This is a prefix. It's a thematic prefix that can be added to this verb and to any motion verb, and it means to come to give information. That's what it means. So like, for example, ʼawtuli.átgi, they ran home to tell, to give the information. It's a really interesting prefix. It pops up when in the Raven stories when people see something unusual and they run to tell people. ʼAadé is like, I think it's ʼadul.átgi is the name for like a town crier. So it's like you're going somewhere to give the news, is really what that means. So someone arrived to say, so someone came to give this information and said, ʼadul.átgi, your snare, ʼawtuli.át, which is, yeah, that's really cool. So it walked into the eye of it. Okay. Next one.
I'll give it a go.
Hink.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Gook.
Okay. Hink would you to tasiqa you at Katsku? He stabbed him out of the lake, or he speared him out of the would you he pulled him out of the water, yeah.
So yeah, so hin is going to be, or hini. You're going to hear, there's two different ways to say that I think they're pretty similar things. But if you say hin wujihich or wujihich, they ran into the water. So, or you can say hini uakut, they walked into the water. So this is how you talk, you know. So it's really interesting to talk about water, because like you're talking about, like, you could tell someone to go to the water, you could tell them to go right to the edge of the water, you could tell them to go into the water, you could tell them to go all the way to the bottom of the water. And it all depends on how you're going to say, you know, there's going to be heen in there, but then it's sort of like hinde is often like towards the water. Hini or heen is into the water. So he went into the water. And so here's the qa. So the way this works is you put it on a noun and to say, like, to go after something. So when you put these two together, he went into the water to get his trap. Right? He went after his snare. So this works for all kinds of stuff. Hundakihiti yih wujihich saknin qa. He ran into this. They ran into the store for bread, right? And then you ʼadul.átgi, that child.
I'll do it.
Oh.
Hinde would do a hut gadlani de. Hinde into the water would do a hut was pulled by a became pulled by fourth person or something. And then I don't know about gadlani de, except de might be a locational thing.
Yeah, what do you guys think about ʼadul.átgi?
Atlan deep.
Yeah, ʼadul is, so that's how you say like deep water or deep snow. So it's really interesting, right? Because like we used to, what do we used to say? We used to say things like, tlane, wait, late. And the elders be like, no, qatlan. Oh, okay. You know, and so just the concept. So like a body of water and snow is considered a body of water. But then we also found out that you could say as tin. So the tree is full of snow. So hinde would do a hoot. So translating this fourth person, like I'd probably for this one say he was drug into the water.
Ah,
Tlani de, out into the deep water. So that's pretty cool too, like just how qatlan works. It's like it's a place, right? Because it's also a verb. You say qatlan awewehin. The water's deep. Qatlan awewetlate. The snow is deep, right?
Kunle, what about if a person is talking about an old trail and the trail is worn deep?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like I seem to remember up class using that word with that, but I've never heard it anywhere else.
Wow. Yeah, I'll see if I could find it anywhere like that. Some kind of reference like that would be cool. Okay. Let's see. Do you guys want to keep going on this? You want to switch to English to Tlingit and try something different? And go back to the future?
I had a question about the moldy end of the salmon. A Shanyaak'utlaax, and I found tlach as mold, but I couldn't figure out how the Shanyaak'u part. How's that work?
Oh,
A Shanya, it's collar.
That's a good question.
Who is telling me directly, so I will let it out of the bag here.
I am paying attention. Sorry.
It said in the Inland Dictionary, a shanya means its collar.
Yes. So for a fish, there's shanya is the collar of the fish, and then nuchi is the right under the chin. And there's delicious things in both of them. But so here, like Shanyaak'utlaax, look for the k part.
But the other thing I was wondering, with Shanya would be head and along like that. I don't know if that works or not, but
Yeah, that's a really good point because shah is head, but there's quite a few words where this.
Oh, but what about nya? Is that what you said? Maybe that's what you said.
It could be that because nya, like you'll see nya pop up on a lot of stuff, and it could become niya or yina. The other thing, and it could be a combination of them. So shah is one of these nouns that sometimes an N pops up on the end, just like ha. You can say hade. You can also say hande. And so once you put something on there, like, so you would expect to say shatu, but you say shantu. So that N appears, and you also say akshan yaniku. So it appears there as well. And it's just head, but then there's this sort of N that pops up on there. So it could be Shan Nya. It could have been that. So it's like in the area of the head. Or it could be Shan Ya, to be along the head. Okay. And then Tlach.
Goodness cheesh.
What does the come from?
It's a good question. I'm looking for it now.
Maybe it's just like a part of the name that, I don't know, because isn't that his name at the end?
Yeah, that's what they name him. And so Shanyaak'utlaax. So if that's that, so now that's the other end. So you're going to hang a fish. Usually if you hang a fish, there's two main ways you can cut it, right? So there's what you call like a necktie cut and a newspaper cut. And so this would be from what I would assume would be the necktie cut, because that's where the collars would be down there and everything. So there's two areas where you could get mold. There's up at the top in that tail, and usually you just kind of cut that tail off and just bring it back down to the beach. But then also on that, because all that moisture drips down, so then there's a chance that it could get a little strong down there at the bottom. And then when you cut it into strips further after you've cut your dry fish off of it, then sometimes you'll cut it into thinner ones, and then you'll cut it down, and that's where you get that little pair of pants that I was initially thinking of. I don't know what that could be. I know that when you have is the base of something, it could be based off of that, and then it just transforms into But yeah, that's a good question.
Gunashchish.
The other thing that it could be is sometimes when you put a diminutive suffix on things, a little W will appear, right? And so it would happen for a little man, ḳáax'u. It would happen for little lake, ʼāq'u. And then if you put something on the other end of that, like if you're going to say, you named some place, like the bottom of the lagoon of the little lake, it would be ʼawtuli.át. And so then it would transfer to a U as well. So if you look through, you'll find things that are like that. Shukashishku. So like that, it could be something like that.
Like little moldy end, right? I mean, isn't that? I swear I've heard that as a in this story before.
Yeah, so it would be like make like some small part of the collar, perhaps. It's really getting it's pretty specific. That's fun stuff. Okay, that's cheesh. Good question. Oh, and Shanyaak'utlaax. Huh, interesting. Okay. What do you guys want to do now? Wasai tuasaku.
Are we getting any more than pictures?
Yeah, we got these pictures.
Okay.
Oops. Let's see, what do I have? What do they call them? Oh, here they are. Got extra.
Shanyaak'utlaax Shkalneek Kiksari Shade honey suck Satnach away Yiska Akashuk again. Uri Hu Ayau Diggy Gake away Na Shade honey Reed Wilson, Blade Ka, Kainach Yeduasak, Chudech, Hicht Sak, Has Iau, Satnach Away East Ka, Kayak Audi, Hu Iau, Gosye, Sade Honey, Sak, Kukyik, Hu, Raven Hat, Scoot, Scoot, yes, Chak, Kasyan, Yasika, Hahe, Way Cook, Way Cook, Duck, Tlingit Ani, Anushikat, Hooch,
Sheesh. Dasatsu Johan.
Gunalchish and a gate. Ye yuch atangi gunalchish.
Yak echawe. Kolchosatin su. Uk. Ts'ahu. Ka in the dark ka yeuti. Kuakan. Ts'ahu. Tsu. Ya anushi. Ka shatahani. Jiyisawe wudutlayech. Yat Ajawe. Atling ku'u awe achshu llachihwe ʼadul.átgi. Yewe gwalli tuasaku. He llwasak gwati. We ʼadul.át kuakan kuwusti yakwahih. Yewe yedalli at. Ka qasegu aya. Has awa wait atin. Ya anushi shatahani. Tlingit daya has to jit awati. Qashatsini said. Akaye yeti gwashe which ark. Dakha age ashai. Yewe has to unkwe yachati. Kutwatu waqik koa. Wuhan. Yewe khwaach. Wasatu asakho. Sally Hopkins. Tlingit sai. He's cookshe. ʼawtuli.át Shkalneek. Ya haqusti gwalhaji dachaya kaulitz is. Jawe tlell haji yeuti ya yedat. Yewa haqusti. Waqalitsini at. Yashtakat dana ai. Tlell ade unqa'u ye. Ya ha'adu. Ye yedat qu'u wan qanins. Tlellhas awasku. Daat yaxsawit tleich. Duhini at. Yewa hatu wasagu. Yewa khwaach. Tlingit aya shit ḳáax'u shit ḳáq'uan. Has to jit awati weta ya anushi. Wutusaku. Gwalhatu wasaku. Qananayi dakhaya wutua adi. Quwakan qusti itina khayati. Dasatsu?
Dasa Tlingit Heinach we Hicht. Tlingit Heinach. Dleika Heinach bib. Hicht. Tlingit Heinach dasa.
Sakate.
Sakate. Gunas chish.
Sa. Ka. At.
Oh, da.
Sa'at. Sate. Saka'at. Sakate. Ka gwell tlech na ati. Chus ka'at. Chus kate. Gled ka kainach leggings.
Yik ewe gunas chish.
Iti aga.
The cut that the shada Tz'áagu. That's kundit Tk'áagu again.
Daqasa.
The cut the yesh shada Tluk nachadi shada.
Yata. Ye haji kunnach Ch'áagu dach awe. Ye awe chasatin ka guantan yitsu tlak an. Gosh wait datsu nas kandit talk awe. Ye awe wudutli yechidach. Wudutli yechidach. Ye awe achtuasaku haji ye uti. Gosh nas kandit talk shu hi shuk wachich aya yidati dach. Achtuasaku haji ye uti. Ye awe ajoe wan kanins hakusti da gyuchachatan. Wan kanins Ch'áas awe at wuduahuni. Wan kanins koa dana konachwe katuasagu. Dana ch awe hakusti outlachak. Itlach tuashku koa. Ajoe yis at achtuasagu tsu wutulle yechi ha nach sati Ya nachin s'ach shatakuch. Kaltasa aya nakatutlitsin. Ajoe achtuasagu. Yis atajiwu Ch'áagu dach ayitsu. Awe chwasatin. Getlech museum. Ha ina kawanik. Ya idati atajiwu kashuk ayi. Gwashyata ituasagu. Yaltakatat daat ayahai kashahiti. Yekakwati. Yis at kakwashayichtsu. Gantin. Ye awe keet s'ach hast du jiewuti. We museum yich. Haina kawani keke awe. Yis at wutudli yech. Yesha at ko atleka at. Yesha at. Kwashi jidegach tuti. We Ch'áagu dach ayi museum yich. Chet tlaik. Wush de sechen. Yesha at yi jiwu. Ha ayi ko a hajich yekakwati. Yewe achtuasagu. Wan kanins chakut ye de awe. Aadé ʼawtuli.át ye. Uhan ka museum ye jini. Tlach tuashku Tlingit ayi. Ha'ani dach aya. Achtuasagu ha'ani ka ye wuti. Ya hat wutu nach. Hashagun ye gachtustin.
We shada kuch again. Wait, soch kuch at ye
Yata.
Gwell as dag uni nach has ausaku aadé shada kuch the aki yehi dat.
Adusa ausaku. Aadé ʼátgi ye. We shadakuch.
Gwell Dolores ka do ka adusa do in ausaku ade ʼadul.átgi. Het chwasaku hastusai ko.
Ah, sheesh.
Gwell Dolores do see owe ausaku holly gwella.
Ah, okay. Ay hai qaqashi that we Burke Museum chosatin just we shut the cook ʼatlin Qunachre qudzati. A qaqaqwashi leta. Yuqaitla shut the cook yadu just ki awechoach. Hechwasaku gol chakutsai gol kadu Ch'áagu Hechwasaku qa ʼaat wan qanins with the ʼaadé. Qayis yatu we tlel qayis qo'ab bronze Hechwasaku wasatu sago at qo'a. We yatu qo'a shata sha da Kuch ay isikuke yana 8 o kayani we qika a kaye wuti kuch you do a sago at we qika ka kuksa we yana 8 ya haid se achtu asaku Gadu yana 8 kuch you do a sago kuch ka wan qanins a tayich yisitinge yata Hechwasaku wasadu sak tletqaq inach kuch yi yagu qo'a ajoy yak yachduatin kuch tayi kuch yi yagu yudu asago at yata wan qanins qanachawe yata yeti kuch yudu asago at yag takatat we kayani yana 8 ajoy shata kuchu yudu asago with ka aye.
Wash the crown of the flower.
I think it's just the flower of the yana, but
Okay.
only of the yana 8.
Isn't that a part of the male plant?
Yechwaji.
It's kind of like a husk of a corn.
Yeah. Sheesh. Okay. Get a call.
That's good enough.
Ichkia. Quakwak what you has I saw castu you katangitin. Kashiak on qanin saqusti yacha ha ichki dachaweku. Shlikudzi awe koa. Hastik ustiitsa.
We yes, Kate Klein. It was ʼawtuli.át yes again.
Gwashe.
Or played káax'u cannibal. Yes, cannibal yes away.
Oh. Asai kudzeti hastu yuqatangi tinne katratseok aqwasa koa. Ye awe. Khoach. Ye awe khosatin. Katratseok akuksa. Artlein atawe has akawach ak. Gantin. Kustin atawe eilhini. Gwash kui kaya kuhi kahastu ani de aya. Aw kuch. We gwash naskinach awe atlechi. Hini has uwa at. Aqa awe kustin at has awleyech. Ye awe has akawach ak. Atayich aya ye haswuti. Ka yat ayachaya as ausane. Gwash has to an de awe aw duacha. Ye awe ye dutzatin. Kustin atyach awe. Ja hini kach. Ye awe. Kunache shlikudzi awe. Aadé has Ch'áagu ye. Tlingit yacha. Ch'áagu ʼawtuli.át. tlait. Ye awe. tlait. ḳáax'u. Ye awe an. Has nigwatl. Ohan koa tuch yacheti. Khan yacheti. Nechin te yacheti. Wan kanins ya yidat su yacheti gwal hicht. Ḥáax'u tz'agwat yacheti we chuts. Ch'áagu naski aqhutzati. Qustiin. Has koa ʼawtuli.át. Chui alta katyete katutlitzeko.
Janwu Hwasatin.
Oh, yaakage.
Ah.
Echa. A shady kutzati. Echasaka.
Tleinach Janwu Duga Ayau. Jin Kadi Nach Haswujikak. Has Gugwashe. Has Akwat Eich. Has to Juk. Kunachwe Han has to Juk Tse. Nask Kutia. We hit Yik. Hooch.
Ganal chish. Tachonach yilekudzi. Yachana. Ya. Achya kutgi wune. Ganal chish. Hey. You guys blow my mind. Good stuff. Let's see. What can I give you to do over the weekend? Feels like you need some. People tell me I don't assign enough homework, so I'm trying to assign more homework.
Shanyaak'utlaax yak ijan. Shanyaak'utlaax yak ijane.
Gunachish. My daughter told me if I don't speak it, I'll never speak it. And so I watched this TED Talk on language. I said this at the beginning of class. They said some people will communicate effectively with 20 words vocabulary, and other people will have a massive vocabulary and can't communicate. So I tried to use that idea to concentrate on making short, to the point sentences. And for these photos, I keyed on a few phrases. They are standing, or the ones who are standing. They are sitting, or the ones who are sitting. And that entailed knowing plural for sit, singular for sit, same with stand. And then when I walk the dog in the morning, from remembering the pictures, I just keep hitting those sentences.
Okay. Can you share that TED Talk with us? Do you have a link or a title or anything?
Oh boy, I can get it for next time.
Yeah, let's just share it with us next week. And then, so here's your thing for Monday. So the first thing you're gonna say is ʼawtuli.át. So after the bad sickness. So I would like you to come up with about 20 or so sentences that are just telling all future forms. This is all what you're gonna do after COVID. So it's not over yet, but the end is in sight, maybe. So then we'll start speculating. So and it doesn't have to be totally in sequence, however you want to think of it, but use a lot of future verbs. The prompt is after the big sickness, the bad sickness. And then you don't have to say that every time, but that's what you start with. And when I say 20 to 30, 30 to 40, about 20, 20 is a good goal.
I want Shanyaak'utlaax's phrases.
Okay. Are the ones he just used now or just
Is the one sitting, the one standing, the one standing, the one sitting. Shanyaak'utlaax.
Okay, wait, the ones that are sitting, I think, is we kin'a. The ones who are standing, we han'a. Or they are sitting, I think that's hasnanuk,
hasqeen.
And then behind them is hasduzuk. So when you're describing a group of people, there's the ones in front that are sitting, the ones behind that are standing, and then and what they're wearing, has'aya'u or aya'u. And with those few phrases, I can struggle through these photos.
Okay. I'll round up some, I don't know, maybe I'll look for some new photos next week, and I'll find more moderns, just people just doing different stuff. Maybe we'll get out of the olden days. Quite a few of these were kind of recent though. So appreciate everybody's hard work. It's great stuff, great to see. And yeah, and let me know where the Shanda is. That's a village, you said? Just looking back through the chat.
It was Tlingit village on Fish Egg Island down by Craig and Cloak. It's not
Sean.
really very widely known.
Yeah, so Sean's seat is I think there's a little bit of debate about the Sean part, but I do think it's like old age. So Sean's seat is the name for Craig. It would be an old channel. And then Shan Da would be, I think, would be around around old age. But is that Shan is it's worth looking into. But there's a bunch of things like Shan Si, Shan Da. So there was probably some place that was called Shan or something that relates to that. But in my mind, it sounds like old age. But there's this old Tlingit concept that I had to find where I found. But you start and then you go to old age and then you come back around and then there was something about it. So Shan was actually a place. Man, that's I can't. Maybe that's in De Laguna. I'll look for it. But yeah, it's a great question. Sha-na-na. Yeah, there you go.
That's an old music group.
Hello.
Shanyaak'utlaax.
Not that old.
Old singers.
I like Bowser.
Okay. Cheese, Johan. Wukecha.
Cheese.
Aye, was Christine.
Jeez.
Cheese.
Jeez.
Cheese.
Cheese.
Nah.
Herbert, the black guy. Shanana. I can't remember.